Hello, I'm going to speak on my book called Our Planet Consumption and Well-being. And this is a book that I'm working for last almost more than 7 years, and a lot of efforts has gone. And I'll just give you the context how actually this idea came to my mind, how I started writing this book. I mean, it was, of course, in my career, I have worked with several companies, and some of the companies were the tire industry and the plastic industry. And I was based in Madhya Pradesh, and then eventually in Gujarat. Then I also came to Maharashtra, and I was in sales and business development. And during my travel in various places, I found there was an antithesis to my liking and what am I doing. I love nature very much, and I used to visit a lot of villages and the Sarpanch, and we had a lot of products for them. For the tire industry, I used to meet a lot of fleet owners, and at the same time, I developed a lot of interest for the rustic nature, and I found that I'm doing something very, very opposite. One side, nature is something which is of my love, and another side, my products that I'm dealing is something which is very harmful for the environment. And I couldn't bear this for a very long time. Though I was experiencing an existential angst where I was finding kind of a battle inside my mind, and at the same time, I have to feed my family. How can I leave job? And if you have some develop a certain kind of a passion, you cannot carry on for a very long time. So ultimately, I decided that I'll get into something else. And to give a vent to my existential angst, I started reading a lot, and I approached a lot of institutions where I started delivering something on environmental philosophy. And eventually, I got certain break, and I in the field of consulting and training, and I left the job, and that is how actually this idea was germinated to write something on environmental philosophy. And then, of course, I increased my qualification. I have done my PhD in the field of environmental ethics, and a lot of research has gone. So this book is a culmination of my experience, my research, my talk with a lot of people. And this book has, I'll just give you the overview of the entire book, how it actually is. And this book has 5 chapters. It has a preface, an introduction, and 5 chapters. This chapter's first chapter is on marketing ethics, and there is perspectives and practices. And second chapter is on green marketing. The third chapter is on green economics. Fourth chapter is on ecophenomenology and ecological integrity, and the last chapter is on simulacra, consumerism and consumer society. And of course, there's a conclusion, and then there is and to make the book much more rich, I've added a glossary. There is also authors index. I think I've referred more than 100 authors in the field of environmental science, environmental philosophy, environmental ethics, and it is quite a scholarly work. And of course, there's a subject index. So those who are into the field of research will get a lot of help from this book, definitely. And I have given the best in terms of across the world what various scholars are thinking on this particular subject. I think I have referred so many authors, and they are also in the top of my mind. And one of the author that has really triggered my thought process in writing this particular book is Aldo Leopold, who has written a book called San County Almanac. And one of the quotes of Aldo Leopold, he says that a thing is right when it tends to preserve the integrity, stability, and beauty of the biotic community, and it is wrong when it tends to be otherwise. It is wrong when it is wrong. Now, what is wrong actually? So from there, I started putting a lot of efforts in understanding what actually is going wrong. Since I'm coming from business development and marketing background, I find that one of the main cause of environmental problem, of course, there are a lot of reasons are there, but why these things are happening? It is because of the growth of civilization. It is because of the habitat. It is because of the behavior, and all these behaviors are getting conditioned by the corporates. Because anywhere you'll find that today there's something called ubiquitous or pervasive marketing, where you go in and around, you'll find that there's marketing, and there is an aggressive push of the product to the people. And then what is happening is we are trying to consume more and more. So the two perspectives in the first chapter, that is marketing ethics, perspectives and practices, that have delved deep into what exactly is marketing ethics. And there's a lot of research gap in this area, because everybody is trying to consume more, market more, advertise more, have more brands, and more advertising, and more marketing is getting more like a boost, and it's a very very lucrative. Also, we get a lot of money, but in the process, the aspects of environment and nature sometimes is being overlooked, and they get shadowed by that. So I have dealt with deontological ethics, with normative ethics, living morally, amorally, and immorally, and uh, and of course various authors are being mentioned, and their concepts and interrelevance. So ultimately, it is we are actually getting into too much of consumption. Then the second chapter actually gets into green marketing, which is actually talking something where it's a spin-off from conventional marketing. Green marketing is a process where we are trying to take care of the products and what we market with perspective of the environment, and that we are not harming, and that we are not destroying the habitat, and too much of deforestation, and too much of civilizational progress is leading us to uh, more of ecological footprint. Ecological footprint is the impact of people and the community on the environment, and the amount of land that is being has a capacity to sustain the given population. So sustainability is also being given a lot of importance. So when, because we have to market, we have to consume. We cannot say no to marketing. The economy cannot slow down. The economy has to progress. The question is, how do you balance between environmental integrity, ecological integrity, and of course our civilizational and habitat needs, and that's quite a challenging actually. Green economics, of course, is a very broad perspective that I have dealt with, and green economics, of course, economics generally deal with supply demand, and the way the factors of productions, and the way the consumer are actually able to react to various marketing that is happening. It's abroad, because there is something called meta economics, and not just economics, and the entire economics is based on meta economics. So we talk about here the five capital. So we get importance to financial capital, but more than that, we have a capital like we have human capital, we have social capital, we have manufactured capital, we have financial capital, and then we have natural capital. So more importance is given to financial capital, but human capital, social capital, natural capital, sometimes it is called as a biological capital. A nation is known not only by financial capital, but it is also known by it's not only GDP, it is also GNH. There is gross national happiness, and it is also biological capital. How much of species we talked about. I've dealt a lot with biodiversity, that is called Jaivik Vividta, and all this comprises. Where you are trying to understand the entire nature as a holistic pattern. So economics is the word is coming from oikos, which is the mother earth, because all thing that is standing on this earth has come from the earth, and if we don't take care of the earth, anything cannot stand on the earth. So the minerals, the buildings, the gold, the chairs and tables, everything has come from the earth, and the first capitalist, I would say, where everything is happening naturally, is the chlorophyll, the pigment chlorophyll, and I have delved a lot in a concept that is I have coined called green belief, and if this green belief is not introspected and not reflected, I think we are only getting just brown, and we are trying to only understand that we should progress. I think one of the important domain where I have committed is that the civilization has gone into a progress, and this progress is something which is giving us a lot of enjoyment. Mark my word, I'm using the word called enjoyment, not happiness, and also it is giving us a lot of pleasure. And since human beings has experienced this pleasure, I think we are not able to get rid of that. Well, but I'm not telling that you should get rid of that. The question is, how do we balance? It is like Buddha's uh, what he talks about balancing. Okay, and also he talks Aristotle, the midpoint, the golden mean. We're trying to understand. So how do you do that? So at midst of our progress, how do we restrain and constrain ourselves? And in the first chapter, of course, I have dealt with a lot of concepts from Advaita Vedanta, that is sadhana chatusthya, vivek vairagya, mumukshutva, and how do you actually bring all these elements and trying to see from a holistic level. It is Vasudeva Kutumbakam. The entire earth is our family, and the species, all species are not separate from us. We feel that we are all separated, but we are not separate. We are all from the same fabric of the earth. We are all coming from the same Panchabhuta, and that makes our existence much more pleasing. And that's what the concept of sustainability comes. And I think the definition of sustainability is where we say that development that meets the needs of today without compromising the ability of the future needs to use their own at that particular time. So we should not deplete the resources that is already available as of now, so that the future generation cannot actually use it. That's what sustainability means, and my book focuses a lot on sustainability. I have dealt a lot on a concept called eco-phenomenology and ecological integrity. And phenomenology is a branch of philosophy that deals with our consciousness from the first-person perspective. And it was developed by Edmund Husserl, and then of course then Martin Heidegger and Merleau-Ponty has given so much of insights on this. So phenomenology is basically the science of appearance, and rather it is the science and art of appearance. And there are a lot of phenomena of the earth, whether it is the ecological cycle, it is carbon cycle, it is the food chain, it is the water cycle, and these things are invisible. So many things are getting done by the butterflies, by the bees, by the birds, and nothing is done, but everything, nothing left undone. Everything is being done naturally, and it is a natural process. And there's an inherent intelligence in this earth, and we tend to disregard this. Maybe some geography student, geologist student, environmental science student will be doing about it, or a naturalist would put a lot of concern on this. And these things are taught in school, but we tend to overlook all these elements. And all this is a fabric, and this fabric gets disturbed by human interference, and that's called anthropocentric view. So we have, one is an anthropocentrism, one is biocentrism, another is ecocentrism. I have argued a lot on anthropocentrism, because ultimately we feel and we believe that it is only humans that is existing on this earth, and our behavior, our policies, and everything is based on anthropocentrism. Nobody talks about the species that is getting extinct, and very few people are actually taking. Of course, a lot of measures are being taken in terms of conservation and preservation, but then in the way it has to happen, it is not happening in that. So I strongly believe that it is an attitudinal phenomenon. Our attitude towards environment, that will make a lot of difference. And how do we take that all across from the very childhood? So it is a matter of awareness. And we are getting tuned to consumerism. I have dealt a lot on typology of consumerism. Consumerism, like we have conspicuous consumption, where more is better. Then we say compulsive consumption, where we think that we cannot get rid of consuming. We want to buy, have more, and I want more. And then we have symbolic consumption. It gives us status. And then we have hedonic consumption, which is more for pleasure. So this consumption pattern are again getting ingrained in our life. And how much you can consume. It is only a life to be lived meaningfully. And in the last chapter, I deal with simulacra. That this is the concept I've taken from Jean Baudrillard. And Jean Baudrillard is a philosopher. He has talked a lot, and what he actually talked in 70s is very true now in 2023. And I understand that I have learned a lot from Jean Baudrillard. He talked about simulacra and hyperreality. And simulacra is a copy of the original. And today in the digital world and the gizmos and the gadgets and the virtual world, this has expanded manifold. And we are hardly, so the boys are and the girls are hardly playing outdoor. They're mostly indoor, and indoor is all about digital world. Yes, digital world has a lot of importance, but too much of electronic waste is getting created, and too much of hyper reality is being created. Hyper reality is more than the real, and we don't go to parks, we don't go have a walk. And yes, of course, many are going, but if you see the major chunk are indoor, and to keep them busy, a lot of gadgets are coming, and that is actually expanding more and more. So this is a concern today. So again, it is attitudinal. Can I change my attitude? And at the last, I talked about two more concepts. Again, I have taken from various authors. It is a research-based work called biophilia and biomimicry. Bio is life, and philia means love. So, can I have love for life? It was Wilson who has dealt a lot on this biophilia. And how much of love can I have? It is my concern for nature and my concern for my environment and the concern for a lot of species that I deal with. And biomimicry, and it's quite a scientific concept that I see how the nature works. Bio, again, life, mimicry means we're trying to copy. And can I copy something how the nature works and bring that to our life, bring back to the corporate, bring back to the industry, bring back to the production system. Biomimicry, for example, if you talk about lotus leaf, I mean, it is something where the water is there, but it doesn't get wet. Okay, the water only slips. Okay, slips through. So the concept of distemper is also based on that. So we are trying to copy something from the nature. The Velcro concept is also coming from certain seeds. And if that is done, it's a fantastic concept. So I'm sure this book, this small talk of almost around maybe 20 minutes, is very short video. But I urge people to read my book and get more insight. And feel free to contact. Happy reading. Thank you.